you got into Y Combinator, and I think the acceptance rate is like 1.5 or 2% of all the applicants that apply. Like, what tips and tricks would you give to someone who wants to get into Y Combinator?
I think there are kind of two big things that I tell people. One is the very first question that you get in the Y Combinator application and also in the live interview. And frankly, the first question you're going to get from any investor is, tell me what you do. Right? It sounds obvious. Tell me what does your company actually do? And I think you'll be surprised 90% of the time the answer is horrible. Like you can't figure out what they do. And like the way to test it, right, is go talk to your friend, like someone who's smart but not exactly in your domain. Because if they're too close to you, maybe that's not a good sample size. But like someone who's like a smart friend, um, and then give them your like 2 sentence pitch. Because after 2 sentences, you're gonna get cut off or interrupted. So you can't go on a 10-minute presentation. Give me what your company does in 30 seconds, and then once you complete your explanation, ask your friend, okay, say it in your own words. What does my company do? And I tried that. So we applied to Y Combinator twice. We got rejected the first time, and I feel like the first time we did that, and like people couldn't tell me what my company did, even though I told them like 2 minutes before. It's like clearly the words I'm using are too high level or not concrete enough to actually give people an idea of like, am I even building a mobile app or a web app, or am I building an AI tool? Like people had no idea. And so I think that's like number one, is like just be very, very concrete on what does your company actually do. That's tip number one. And the other tip I would say is um, be very specific about who are you targeting first. Okay, I think a lot of people have this very grand vision, which is good, about like, oh, I'm going to change 1 billion people's lives, and 1 billion people are going to use my product, and it's going to make everyone in the world happy. But I think that's not very compelling as an investor. I think you need to say, hey, today we're starting out with electricians in the San Jose area who are overloaded with too many contracts, and we're going to build a software solution for those people. Like literally 100 people in this area, we're going to have the best solution in the world for them. Now I think you have a lot more credibility because, like, yeah, you probably know plumber or electricians in San Jose, and I believe you when you say, yeah, I'm going to actually make their life better. Where if you tell me I'm going to help 1 billion people, yeah, that might be a good idea, or like you might have a good intention, but I don't believe you, and then I'm not going to invest in you. So those are kind of the two things that I feel like distinguish a better applicant from a worse applicant.
So instead of going too broad or too being too vague, like narrowing it down into a particular, demographic, like how can I improve their lives, and
Yes,
then going up from there.
exactly. And I think not only is it about being very specific about attacking a particular demographic, but also explaining why do you have a unique ability to serve them. Like maybe I was an electrician in San Jose, and therefore I know all the electricians in that area. That's like a really good answer. Hey, like you're the perfect person in the world to solve their problem. Whereas if I say, hey, like I'm gonna go help, teenage moms in South Africa, like that's a very good problem to solve. But I am not the person to solve that problem because I don't know any teen moms in South Africa, right? And so you have to be able to tell me why you're able to do it uniquely, and how you're the best person in the world to solve that problem.
Also, with something like Y Combinator, do you think like you having credibility with working in FANG companies and also going to Stanford, do you think that helped, or do you think it's purely based on like, your product and like your niche market?
I think it helps a lot. I think it's a huge amount of help. Like the more credentials you collect, it definitely helps. I mean, there's some credentials which I think are worth a lot more than others. But yeah, like certainly going to Stanford, going to being at Facebook or Meta, um, is a huge, like basically, if you trust the evaluation criteria of Stanford to admit people, or if you trust the evaluation criteria of Meta to admit smart engineers, then by proxy you kind of also automatically trust that person, right? So I think it does help. I think I would say like the big thing, which is even more important than just like where you went to school, is a referral. And so for both times we applied to YC, we actually had an alumni, like a Y Combinator alumni, say, "Hey, Rahul's a great founder. He and his co-founder, I believe that they're going to build a big company. You should interview them at least." So I think that actually had more weight compared to just like where you went to school.